Hey guys, what's up? I finally finished watching Squid Game. I want to give a quick shout out to one of my viewers, Stay Positive, for recommending me the series. I had no idea what Squid Game was, and then I felt like kind of a doofus because it's apparently like the #1 show globally. Like everyone's talking about Squid Game. You've probably seen memes of Squid Game. Squid Game is everywhere, and if you don't know, Squid Game is like the Korean Hunger Games, that like, well, with a sprinkle of Saw elements on top of it. But yeah, it was a really fun show. You should go watch it. That's the end of my review. Okay, I'm joking. I just want to give my thoughts about what I liked about the show, what I didn't like about the show, and there will be spoilers. I'm going to put spoiler warning, so if you haven't watched the show and you have Netflix, I totally recommend go watching it. It's only 9 episodes long, so it's not that long of a series, but it is a fun watch. Let's start off with what I didn't like about Squid Games. What I didn't like about it is there are some cliche elements to it, because once you see the main characters, you kind of know already who's gonna live and who's gonna die. That doesn't mean that there are no surprise deaths. There were a couple of surprise deaths in the show, because I thought like, oh, they're a main character, they're gonna live, right? And I'm like, nope. Never mind. In my mind, I'd like to think like, oh, there's always going to be some kind of loophole with these challenges, with these games. But nah, man, like 99% of the people that are participating in these games, they're gonna expire. You kind of know from the get-go just by looking at the main characters who's gonna at least stick around the longest, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because they are main characters for a reason. You want to explore their backstory, you want to explore their motivation, you want to get to know them. So you need them to live a bit longer. Another small issue I had with Squid Games is that I know that the whole premise of the show are these people competing in children's games. A lot of them are Korean children's games. The twist is that if you lose, you're gonna die. Why am I laughing? For me, when I watched Squid Games, I couldn't help but compare it to a very similar show, and it's not Hunger Games. It's Alice in Borderland, which is a Japanese Netflix show that follows a similar premise where this group of people are transported to like some kind of different world where they compete in deadly games to, I think, also earn money, if I recall correctly. But the games in Alice in Borderland are a lot more creative. Both are high stakes, but in Alice in Borderland, there's more diversity in the challenges. Talking about my preference, I prefer the games in Alice in Borderland, but I still had a lot of fun watching people compete in Squid Games. The qualms I have with the show is very minuscule. I had an overall enjoyable experience watching the show. Let's go with what I loved about the show, which is a lot. First off, cinematically, it's a very well shot show. I think some of the scenes in the series were very pretty. I like the colors, I like the lighting. It was just really well shot, so good job for them. I give a thumbs up for cinematography for Squid Games. Another thing is why it's such a successful show is that it's very well paced. Every episode makes you want to watch the next episode. For example, the one episode where they were competing in tug of war and they ended literally in a cliffhanger where you don't know who's gonna win, so you're like, I have to watch episode 5 because I want to know who won. I mean, I know the main characters are gonna win because they're the main characters, but I want to see how they did it. That's the thing. Even though it's kind of predictable on who's gonna live, you want to see how they survive, which motivated me to continue watching the show. It was like, how are they gonna survive these games? The casting, my brother and I were talking about as we were watching it, it's spot on. Very well acted, and that's because it was very well casted. Like, you can watch different dubs of the show. I watched the original Korean dub because I want to see how the actual actors are performing their lines as opposed to a person dubbing over them. And my favorite character is probably the main character, Gi-Hun. Forgive me, especially for those who speak Korean. I am gonna butcher these names. Gi-Hun, the main character, at the beginning of the show, he's kind of basically a failure. He's in a lot of debt. He has a gambling addiction. He lives with his mom. He's 47 years old. I mean, I guess he's kind of a good dad in that he loves his kid and his daughter loves him. I think if I recall, like, he never really paid child support, can't keep a steady job because he's addicted to gambling, and he owes a lot of money to loan sharks, and he's just in, I think the correct term, dire straits. Even though he starts off as a bad, kind of a loser, the main character, and a lot of it has to do with the actor, he seemed very childlike to me. This might sound weird. Like when I look at his face and specifically his eyes, I'm like reminded of a kid. How he views the world, how he acted, how he talked. It was like a kid, except he's like a middle-aged man. But there was something like endearing about the main character that made you want to root for him despite his previous mistakes, and how throughout the games you really see that he has a good heart. So let's talk about the ending and the potential for season 2. I really, really like the ending. The final battle, the final game, which is Squid Game, just like the title of the show, it seems very fitting, was really cool. It's interesting because I was talking to my brother about it. Like, you know, Squid Game, it is a children's game, but it's the most violent because there's an attacker and a defender. And when Sung-woo and Gi-Hun were facing off, I'm going to allude to Revenant. And if you haven't seen Revenant, you may not want to listen to it because there's going to be spoilers. The final face-off between Gi-Hun and Sung-woo did remind me a lot of the Revenant. It was so visceral, it was pouring rain, so dramatic, just like an anime. And that final scene was really, really well done. And the acting was really, really good. What I liked a lot about the ending was it felt satisfying, but it also subverted expectations I had for the show. And so like the ending actually does a time skip of a year ahead with Gi-Hun looking like Korean John Wick, living the life he previously had before he won the money because he doesn't want to use the money. It's all dirty money. It's blood money. It got to the point that the people that gave him the money, the Squid Game operators, requested him for a visit. And lo and behold, the one that requested him a visit was that old guy. I knew it was the old guy all along. Like I know this old guy is one of the masterminds of Squid Games. I just knew it. Because one of the critiques of the show, you know, in media, they like to bash whatever they can, is that it's torture porn. Maybe it's just the culture we live in. I've seen more violent things from other shows when comparing it to Squid Game. I actually think Squid Game is an anti-violence show because in the background, we figured out that it's just some like weird furry gambling ring. Wow, the VIPs are furries. Not surprised. Where these, I'm assuming, very, very high status, wealthy people are betting on the people competing in these games just for entertainment. It critiques how they're so rich that the only thing that can entertain them is the suffering of others. It also, I think, is a critique towards the viewer because we're watching the show and we're being entertained by the violence and the drama. And I think to myself, like, are we any different than those guys? We find satisfaction in the misery of other people. What I loved about the show was that it critiqued just the whole concept of money itself. Is money really worth the lives of these people? And if you get this money, will it make you any happier? I mean, it didn't really make Gi-Hun happy. And it shows how empty and shallow it is because, like, you compete in all these games and you see that big golden piggy bank in the ceiling raining down cash. You can apply it to like not just the games, but in like real life. It's like, am I willing to undergo situations that I think are dehumanizing just for money? And it made me think of the question like, you know, money is so stupid. Why can't he just take care of his mom who has to go to the hospital? Like, why can't he just do that? Why does he need money to do that? She should be able to get the care she needs because she's an old lady that's very ill. Like, why does Sae-byuk need money to bring her mother to South Korea so she can be safe and be back with her daughter and her son? Why does she need money to do that? Why can't we just make that happen? I know like there's a lot of stipulations in reality, but it makes you think. It's like, yeah, that's stupid. It's like, why do we need money to do these basic things to help people? It's like we should just help people, right? I just see the communist like flag flying behind me, like, and the communist chant ringing behind me as I'm making this speech. I'm not anti-capitalist. This isn't a political statement, but it's also made me think. It's like, why is it that these super wealthy people would rather bet millions of dollars on who would win these horrible games? Why can't they just give the money to Gi-Hun, like, go help your mother? We'll do that. No one does that. No one did that. So yeah, I liked how that the whole show said like, yeah, violence is dumb and money is dumb. Watch Squid Games. Gosh, Karl Marx would be proud of me, wouldn't he? But yeah, overall, I would just describe it as a really fun watch. I just want to mention that I'm really excited for what season 2 has in store. They're kind of alluding to the fact that Gi-Hun will take his prize money to take the fight to the Squid Game operation. And I really believe that the detective is still alive. Remember, if there's no body, they're still alive. And I actually believe that Gi-Hun and the detective will team up to take on the Squid Game operation in season 2, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch. I know I kind of went off in a tangent in this review, but because I don't really have a script. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on Squid Games. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my opinions, and if you enjoyed the show or not. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of when I post my next video. Yeah, guys, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Peace out.